Hi, Kat. Welcome to, it feels weird to say my channel, but we'll say that. You have a book called Seeing No Self,
Yeah.
but really this no self, because it's quite threatening to some people, this idea of there is no self.
Yes. It's immediately interpreted as there is no one. For me, the most direct pointing and the most useful pointing that I found
Mm.
is to discover that there is no self. Not
Yeah,
that there is no one, that there is no self.
that's right. Yeah, it's an important clarity, isn't it? Because I think once the survival mode is up, then they're in defense mechanism and they're not hearing it
Yeah.
anyway, because there is a me experience, isn't there? I
Yeah,
often point to there's an experience of a me.
yes. Yes, and the cool thing is that so all the neuroscience and the physics and the consciousness studies are sort of starting to say the same thing, that there is the illusion of a self.
Mm.
It's a cognitive illusion and it's very, very convincing. And we all start, we fall into this illusion when we're born
Mm.
from that point of view. So, in that sense, there is a self.
Mm. But it's the mind frames it in a very fixed way
Yeah.
and misses the essence of it, the depth of what's there. It's not a separate self in a world. It's not
Yes.
life, you're not separate from life. You are life.
Yeah. And another way of saying that is that it's a misidentification or a limitation, contraction to the body and mind.
So we're taking ourselves to be the limited point of view
Yeah.
that's created by the mind.
Yeah.
Perfectly valid, absolutely fine, but it's not for that to have so much weight added to it. What's actually happening?
Yeah. And I mean, it is perfectly fine. I say that all the time as well. We don't have to, it's not killing the self or undoing the self or saying goodbye to the self. It's just
Yeah,
seeing no self.
yeah.
But the issue is that this belief that I am the separate self, that I am me and limited to this body and mind, causes suffering.
Yes.
So there
Yeah.
is a very tangible, because sometimes the question comes, then so what? You know, so
Yeah.
there is no self. So what? Well, all your psychological suffering is caused by the belief that you are a separate self.
Mm. That point of view then narrates about the experience, and it can
Yeah,
be based in fear and survival mode. And, I like this, I don't like that, constantly seeking for a better moment, constantly trying to manage what's appearing. And that's where the suffering is, isn't it?
yeah. And it all starts with I have to uphold this identity that doesn't really exist.
Oh, yeah.
So it's constant work. It's
It's
work.
exhausting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exhausting.
It's exhausting for the human experience
Yes.
to be defending and, like, say, upholding this point of view. You know, then there's pattern behavior and it doesn't belong to anybody. Yet there's pattern behavior.
Yeah. So
It
right
belongs
now,
to the idea.
while we're talking, right, there's the pattern behavior. Oh, is this coming across well? Does this make sense? Will this be interesting to people? Blah, blah,
Mm.
blah. That's the mind just narrating this to itself. But the difference is only whether there is ownership of that.
Yes.
So is that taken personally in the sense of there is a person owning that?
Yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
a really important point you've mentioned there because there's some idea that the mind has that when you recognize the truth of your being, or however we want to phrase it, we recognize there's no self, but there's still a me experience. Completely lost what I was going to say. When everything just falls away, it's gone.
Well, we expect
Oh, for it
life
to
to
be
be,
beautiful and
yeah,
not to
yeah,
have. So if you've seen through no self, thank you. So if you've your patterns and I mean, they're not as heavy, but because they don't have the identity added to them, but
mm,
they still play out, don't they? You still
yeah,
have there's a potential
yes,
for the separate self me narration to appear, but it's whether anything's added to it, whether you give it authority because it has no power.
exactly. And that's the reason, another reason I titled my book Seeing No Self, because it's an
Mm.
ongoing seeing. It's not, I have seen no self and now it's over,
That's it.
and
All sorted. I mean, in one way it is because you have seen.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
in that
in
way,
that
yes,
from the
yes,
absolute view, oh my goodness. I was
yes.
looking out that way. I was believing myself to be a separate self, and now I've recognized this that's always been here is is what I am.
Yeah.
prior to all the mental narration about this point of view, this self. But yes, it doesn't mean that that doesn't keep going.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's to me it's the same. It's game over in the sense of this can never be unseen.
Yeah, yeah,
But the seeing of it in the moment, which is all there
continually. Yeah, the
is
human
continuous.
experience. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm talking over you. You say
Yeah.
that again.
We're
I'll
saying the
cut it
same thing,
out.
so
I'm terrible. I talk over because I get so excited, and people
same.
criticize me, and it's just because I'm so excited. So say that bit again, and I'll cut me
I
out.
can't remember.
People will leave all of this in because you don't really care in a way. You know, when
No.
people tell me off, and I'm like, this is what I do. This is who I
Yeah.
am. I
Yeah.
don't have to be some spiritual ideal. You know,
No,
there's that
and
thing, isn't there? That
there's
you
no vase of
suddenly,
flowers and speaking slowly and
yeah,
I talk a lot as well in the meetings. I just blabber
yeah.
um, because
Because
I enjoy it so much.
it's expressing itself. It's
Yeah.
passionate. We don't become like a robot. You still are that unique expression. It's just that it's a lot lighter, isn't it? It's like if I made that mistake, not even a mistake, but you think, oh God, I ought to cut that out because people complain. But it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's
matter. It's a lot lighter.
the coolest way I found that I forget who said that and it doesn't matter at all, but there's nothing wrong anymore.
Because obviously in the relative experience there is stuff that from there is right and wrong, people, but from the absolute view everything just everything just
Yeah.
drops, dissipates, and we're just left with the moment without
Yes.
all the how
And then
it
we
should
end up
be.
sitting in silence.
Yeah, yeah, which is
Oh
also
no.
delicious. Yeah. So if somebody gets your book and seeing no self, who's actually doing the inquiries? Because at the beginning it's as if the separate self is doing the inquiry to find there's no separate self. So what's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, and this is almost impossible to explain to
Yeah.
someone who believes they're a separate self because it is
Yes,
always heard as, from the personal standpoint. But it is life doing the inquiries.
it is, isn't it? Yeah. Life waking itself up through form, through
And
thought,
life is
through
just the
feeling.
word that comes out now, but you can
It could be
substitute
something else.
whatever, awareness, presence, being, source, God, the
Yeah.
absolute,
Just
whatever
this.
you like.
Yeah. Yeah. Because really you can't label it
No,
because it has no opposites. It's not a thing. I think
no.
it's
And so
ungraspable.
so the question who is doing this doesn't really have an answer. It's just look and see, and then the answer is known, but it is not speakable.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And that really frustrates people and upsets them. And it upset me too. Whatever years ago, I was reading this and was like, yeah, it's awareness, but it's not, and it has no name and no form. And it's just what?
I think
Yeah.
I don't have a mind that likes to go down a route. I think it's
Mm.
been very useful. I don't
Yes.
like to think too many steps ahead.
Okay.
So, so to me, it's such a relief that I don't have to label it. It's like, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just simply is.
Yeah.
And it's just so obvious if it has no boundary, and all of this, I'm sure you point to in the book,
Mm.
that there is no boundary to, not to the idea of a separate self. I'm sure the mind can create a boundary, but when we look in direct experience, when we just slow everything down and we don't use the mind to look. And this is sort of the area where I guess the book is pointing to this, just this knowing, just this sense of intelligence prior to it being limited, that
Yeah.
that there is just this, and
Mm.
this can't be pinned down. We can't find a boundary to it. It isn't out there. It's not something we get. It's what's already here, and it's just totally ungraspable. So of course you can't label it, but there is a sense that you can speak from it. Like from now, I just feel like everything's slowed down, and I don't need to particularly do anything. I can just be, uh, and even that's too much. Do you know what I mean? Everything
Yeah.
gets almost too much, but
But the weird thing is that even the personality, the conditioned whatever speaking and talking is also
it
it.
it is, and that's so nice. So even the additions are it. Even
Yeah, it's
anything
just
that's added is it.
all of it is it. It's just the belief that some of it, I always call that the little island of me. and it's like this tiny island, and it has just this one palm tree, and we're trying to
My
defend,
world.
yeah, to defend it against this great big ocean of the world out there. And
Yeah.
but even that island is the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's nothing, there are
There's
no
no,
beaches, there is no palm tree,
yeah.
but we're pretending, and and we believe it, and we believe, at least I have this one palm tree, and I'm going to defend it.
I've got my feet on solid ground where there
Yes.
is no solid
No.
ground.
No.
And that can be feel threatening as well when,
Yeah.
sometimes I remember on a call once I was talking to my group, and there's that sense that when you recognize what you are and you just sort of, I do this sort of this sense that you just keep turning into what you are and
Mm.
exploring what you are, even though it's ungraspable. There's still an experience of it because it's what you are. So it's,
Yeah.
and you just can't. Oh, I've lost what I was going to say again. It just everything drops as soon as because it's almost like it's make believe.
It is. Yeah.
So as soon as I turn inwards, it's as if the
Yeah.
whole play drops and I can't then pick it back up because I know it's the knowing is it's just that it's just a pretense. So
Yeah.
like we're playing a game, then it drops and then you can't pick the thread up again.
That's why I need the questions. I need meetings with people asking questions or sharing frustrations, because otherwise I don't know, nothing
There's
comes.
nothing to there's
Yeah.
no juice to be able
Yeah.
to yeah, you need
Yeah.
something to I'm quite good at just turning in and talking. But
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, just just pointing to what this is.
But what I've found really helpful, and that's actually why I wrote Seeing No Self, is
Mm,
you just talked about recognizing this, right?
yeah.
And then the spaciousness and the knowing of it.
Mm,
But I found with because I worked with many people trying to guide them. I don't do that anymore, but
mm,
I did for a while. And I found it was the same for me, that if we don't first deconstruct all these beliefs that we think are the self,
mm.
it's very difficult to recognize what we are for many
But
people.
it's not that we have to do that because it's already the case.
Yeah.
So I think there's some degree, something that's quite helpful. I had somebody who came to me for a month mentoring, and he said, I just decided to believe you. I just thought,
Yeah.
let's just drop this constant 20 years of trying to find it, feeling like you're not there and I've got all this work to do, and just not like, oh, I believe you, just lay down all of that. So there is value in practices until they're not valuable because it can
Exactly.
be self-perpetuating this sense of an I that's not perfect.
Yeah.
This one that isn't quite there, this one that's got more work to do because everybody already is it.
But I found that many people can't, at least the people I've met
Yeah.
and spoken with, and I was the same, they can't find that trust, or this, okay, I'll just believe and
Surrender. Yeah.
surrender, because their minds won't let them, and this is so
Yeah.
strange. And so, it sounds like such gibberish. At
Mm.
first, they need to look in direct experience and see, well, is there really a body? Am I limited to it? Is there
Yeah.
really, am I my thoughts? Is there a past? Is there a future? And just seeing those things, not even proving that, but just poking enough holes
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
to be able to do what you just said, which is to come and to say, okay, I'm going to drop, I'm just going to surrender to this,
Surrender.
and then it
Yeah.
will and open itself, let it open itself up.
Okay, so somebody's in their mind. So what I say to them is, okay, can you declare, I know absolutely nothing? How does that feel? And
Mm,
quite often there's a massive relief
mm,
to declare, I know absolutely nothing. I said,
yeah.
how does that feel? And they're like, oh, I'm like, what? And they're already then surrendered
Yes.
because there's nobody actually surrendering, is there? That's the thing. This
Mm,
idea somebody's holding on and they've got to let go is the illusion that there's somebody holding on. So it's all back to front. That's the tricky thing.
yeah.
So I'm now starting to talk in ways that we just don't add anything to what's already the case. So what's
It's
here
very
now if we
similar.
don't add anything? So we're
Yeah.
already at ground zero.
Yeah.
Then yes, the mind's going to come up with a thought, yes, but I don't understand that. My relative experience is that, but that's okay. And I think also what we spoke of earlier, that it's not got to look a particular way.
Mm.
It doesn't, because they've got this ideal in their head of what it's going to be,
Yeah.
and it's not fitting that picture. And there's a lot of suffering around spiritual
Mm.
awakening, which to
Yes.
me makes my heart just, I think that's why I'm doing it.
Mm.
Just because life is suffering enough if you believe you're a little me, to then suffer the spiritual journey, that they're limited, that they're not getting it right. I call it the spiritual manager, that I'm still looking and I'm still not getting it right. There's something wrong with me. Why can't I get it? Everybody else gets it. And you're just like, oh my goodness.
Mm.
So to see that even the one that's saying, I get it, and I lost it, is still the mind, is still a thought.
I think that's what is driving many people away from the sages on stages, as they say.
Yeah.
Um, which is, this progressive path. And someday, it used to be, after many lifetimes.
Lifetimes.
Now it's if you really, work hard or whatever it is, or meditate hard or rest in awareness often enough, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And after you do all that, then you will get what I have or see what I see, and it's just not like that at all.
Mm.
And in that sense, I recognize what you're saying very much, because to me, it's just, this is it.
Yeah.
There's nothing beyond this. There is no more enlightened or more awakened version of this. And there's no you separate from it. So you are it. And so that's it. We can all go home. And then we can have some discussion about what your mind thinks the reasons are that this is not it.
Mm. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Because then you've got clarity. I mean,
yeah,
but it's so hard to talk about it because then you've got clarity as if you're somebody who doesn't have clarity. That's not correct.
the only thing in the way is the belief.
Yeah.
And that's not even a thing. That's just,
Yeah. And that's where the inquiry is good. It can look at
yeah.
what even is a belief. You start to look at it, it dissipates. What's a
Yeah,
thought?
although I would say even there, because there are things like Byron Katie with questioning beliefs and stuff. I did that, and
Yeah,
that
me
is
too.
endless. That's
Yeah.
endless.
It is
That's
endless. Yes.
100 lifetimes as well,
Yeah. It's
because
useful.
yeah.
It cleans the ego to then, you know,
Yeah, but so you can get
because
stuck in
so you're
that
less
forever.
react. Yes, you're less reactive. I think it depends on also where it's being done from. I think I was quite lucky with that because I would ask the questions, but I would drop into no
Yeah.
self. But I
Yeah.
didn't realize that's what I was doing. It was just
Yeah.
automatic. So I
Same.
would ask the question from the head. I'd drop down to the heart, which gave me more space around it. So I wasn't so
Mm.
fixed. And then I'd drop down into the body. And then there was just the knowing that, and it was just instant relief that that was a something that wasn't true, and it was just being believed, and there was just the clarity was already there. But I definitely thought I was doing it, but luckily, because I kept visiting the clarity, it did
Mm.
help in a way. But of course, we're still talking about the story because that one, the one that journeys, the one that does the work, even, doing the no self, recognizes it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. The spiritual journey is within the game because
Yes.
nobody fell asleep and nobody woke up.
Yeah.
There is the
So as long
experience of
as
falling asleep and waking up.
there's this identification with the body mind, um, questioning the beliefs whether I am the body and I am the mind, and whether there is really separation is really useful. So I
So,
found that questioning beliefs is important for those who need that, and that's not
yes.
everyone.
Mm.
But then it's really helpful to just target these
Yeah. To get to
layers
the
of the
root.
onion to
Yeah.
get
To
to
get to
what I
the
am.
core.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your book's got some sort of system, I've heard you say, some sort of, like you say, layered, how it's layered to get to the real root through the,
Yeah,
yeah.
the way it's set up, it's the netty, I'm not this, not that. And then to be able to come to, but it also starts immediately with the awareness inquiries. So what I
Great.
am.
So you could just switch, that perception switch. Not
Yeah,
that everybody has. It can be a very gradual one for some people, and it can be mine was a flip, you see,
yeah,
because I always knew it. It was so obvious
mm,
all the way through my life, and I used to ask other people about it. I'm like, but
yeah,
what I am doesn't age. And they'd just look at me blank. So I'd go around trying to find somebody that could, that
mm,
that I could bounce off, and nobody seemed to. So when I went to David Bingham, because I had a perception shift. So I had a perception shift, life, journeying, as you know, believing it was separate, had some sort of perception shift, because I was always looking outside of myself. And
Mm.
then there was a perception shift. I'm like, I am presence. There's no,
Yeah.
but there still was identification. There was still the
Mm.
belief in
Mm.
identification. And then David just said, well, there's something that's there that's never changed. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know that. He said, well, that's your true nature. I was like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
it's that easy. But I know that all the way through my life. He's
Yeah.
like, it's so obvious when you see it.
But the thing is, everyone knows that,
Yeah.
or you didn't need to, you didn't forget it, and you didn't have to re-recognize or whatever. It's just
It was
explanation
always
anyway.
there.
Yeah.
It's just how where the attention is. The
Yes.
attention is on the thoughts, attention on the idea of a me, attention on a contraction that creates an idea of a me, a position,
Mm.
something to uphold, a point of view, a strong sense of self. If attention is on that, then that's the experience life has. And if attention
Yeah.
is on just what is, that's the experience life has.
And then there is no self.
Everything all just drops away.
That's it, basically. We can now stop.
How beautiful.
But
But
it's
yet
true.
it still
Yeah.
likes to dance though. It still likes to know itself through form, to speak to itself,
Mm.
to experience itself. There's something that it loves about it. It loves, do you not, do you notice it's in love with itself?
I wouldn't, I mean, I
I
wouldn't
know
do
you
this
don't.
if it
I did
weren't.
hear you say on the thing that compassion and love, you weren't so resonating with those things. And I'm not one of those love and peace type of, that's not been my path. I'm quite down to earth. But what I recognize is when there was this sense of just, okay, attention on what I am, I just noticed this falling in love. It was as if life fell in love with itself.
Mm.
It just started drinking itself, drinking or just marinating or just. And I was like, oh, is this what they mean by self-love? Not the ego in love with itself, just this sense that life just loves itself. That's it. Or it is love, not in the romantic or the conditional love, and a very different. I would say maybe the human experience based in heart and centered in heart is is that how it can experience love, but not from a conditional point of view.
Mm. I um I mean, I don't have anything against any of that.
Yeah,
It's just not. I find that the reason, or when I think what you're referring to when I said that, is more when this is shared in a way where the result will be more love and compassion.
oh, an
Yeah,
idealistic thing. I'm
yeah.
going to be like that. Yeah, yeah,
And to
yeah.
me, love is, I mean, in the way you just mentioned it, love is just another word for presence or awareness or life, or it is
Yeah.
love in the sense that it is completely self-accepting.
Yes, yes. It's saying yes to itself.
Yeah, and self-celebrating, or whatever
Yes,
poetic
yeah,
language
yeah.
you want to use, that's
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of pointing to it. You're right. It is that. It's just self-acceptance because there's nothing else. It's just reveling in itself.
yeah, there's no, and I think last time, a few days ago, I put it is as there's no source, it's joy because there's no source of conflict,
Yeah,
or peace because there's no source of argument or conflict with what it is.
yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
not fighting anything. It's just totally surrendered to itself.
but this is the same as people saying it's bliss and peace beyond understanding and all these poetic,
Mm.
overused, unfortunately
Can make it
overused
too
phrases.
flowery. And then
Yeah,
there can be an
and
idea that they've got to reach that they need to be in bliss. Well, where's the bliss? Where's the bliss? I mean, I did have bliss, but it's uncaused. I didn't go looking for it and I didn't need it. And when it wasn't there all the time. And I still do have bliss. I might have moments where I can't stand up with so much bliss,
mm,
but it's not. I don't walk around in bliss all day.
Mm,
It comes and it goes, but there's nobody that needs it and who is chasing it. It's just
yeah,
simply sometimes that's how life can experience itself.
yeah. But the
And
much of this non-dual language has been shared by those who were aspiring to see it. And I mean, that's my interpretation, of
Mhm.
course. But a lot of that language was used, for example, by the people who went to listen to some sage. And then they said, oh, yes, the sage said this is bliss. And then they dutifully,
Yeah,
recorded, oh, it is bliss. But then when it is recorded, it is recorded in such a way that this is an aspiration or this is
very
something,
fixed.
yeah, and it's
Becomes
not
fixed.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah, and an ideal thing.
Part of me is always going like, so what? What do you experience? What's true for you? Because
Yes,
that
yes,
someone in the 19th
yes,
century
ideal.
experienced permanent bliss, how does
Yeah,
that help you? What the only thing that counts in the way I share this is what do you know now
yes.
to be
What do
true?
you know in this moment?
Yeah, and that's it.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. It is only direct experience for me. So I don't really talk about anything I've not experienced because there's no point. I
Yeah,
can't share anything that I've
exactly.
not experienced because I'm not saying those things aren't true, but if I've not experienced that, I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it's just irrelevant. It's just not worth doing.
Mm,
It's like I get cut off. Sometimes I get cut off when I try and, if I start to try and go to some sort of slightly more conceptual, I just find I get chopped a bit like
mm.
how I've been doing today sometimes. I just can't speak.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
just cuts the whole thing off. Life just says enough of the crap, enough of the explaining. It's
Yes.
just this.
Yeah, it's sometimes stopping mid-sentence and saying, well, you know what? I don't know.
Yeah. It's but there is something beautiful in not knowing. Totally beautiful in just surrendering to having no agenda and not knowing. I got those are the two things the
Mm.
sort of insights that came really. I know absolutely nothing and no agenda.
But it's not popular. It's not what people want to hear most of the
Self-improvement.
time.
Yeah, they want self-improvement, yeah. But
Yeah.
that's saying that they're deficient, that there's something wrong with them, that they're lacking. And
Yes.
that's the little point of view that's limited. They're not lacking, they're not. They're already whole and complete.
Yeah.
So
The
would you
only,
say the inquiry that you do doesn't perpetuate that idea of a me because it keeps bringing us back to that can't be spoken about, to the no self.
yeah,
So it
entirely
cuts
that.
it
It's,
cuts that journeying. It keeps bringing itself back to no self, no self.
yeah. And to me, that's the essence of inquiry. There's the self-inquiry, who am I, type of what many people have heard self-inquiry is. For me, inquiry is just in this moment,
Mm,
whatever deconstructing, whatever the mind says is not okay, so that we can recognize or realize this as it is. So the awakening that is here now. It takes no time. It's really there is no inquiry to be done, but the one who comes up, so the mind that comes up with
yeah.
the argument, it's really just
Why,
yeah,
if
sorry.
I'm it, why do I not feel like I'm it? What would be said there?
Yeah, so that then we inquire into what the mind believes it is.
So you get right to the root of what the mind's actually saying.
Yeah, and it depends on the person. It depends on the one asking the question because some
Of
people,
course, yeah.
and that's the living nature of it. Some people
Yes,
will go into need to go into a lot of detail and argument. Other people need to feel those sensations.
yes.
Other people need to hear some neuroscientific explanation first so they can let go. And
Mm,
some people just like, drop right in
yeah,
and it's over and it's just one word or it's just the expression of it, the sharing of it, that's enough.
yeah,
So I found that is so, and because there are so many different people who show up
yeah.
interested in this, that's why there's also no way to say there's this one way to do this or there's this one
Yes.
path.
Mm. And not a set route. I love how you described it as it's a living inquiry, isn't it? It's not a set way, even though you can frame it in a book um, every different people are going to look at that book and experience it differently.
completely.
Yeah.
Now, or because I just narrated the book. So when I read them again, it every time it does something different.
It hits
Yeah.
because I had a quick look and I think a few days ago and I was like, oh, that one's so good. It's like you relive the
Mm.
recognition over
Yes.
again. It's something quite beautiful about recognizing, even though you know what you are, just to because there can be any sort of slight framework, any sort of position that can appear, and just to be able to, smash it
Yeah.
again there's something totally beautiful.
Yeah. So what changes for me is the wording I use changes. So I would now not use the exact language I used in the book, because that too is living to me. But that's a personal thing. I got sick of the word awareness,
Mm,
but at the
mm,
time I wrote the book, I still found that very helpful.
mm. And
Um,
which it will be for people, and but you just
yeah,
switch it out. You just keep switching it out because for one
yeah,
person yeah, something's going to land for
yes.
them. Yeah.
I mean, to me, inquiries are, and the ones in the book, they're offers, and
Mm.
there's no one doing that. So
Oh,
there's
I
no one,
like that. Oh, that's
it's
so
just like
nice. Oh my
here,
God, that's so good. Oh, sorry, I'm just feeling into that. It's like you're just offering them.
yeah,
It's so light. You're not like, do this. It's just like, I'm just offering you this. That is such a
yes,
gift because it's so open.
yeah, and they're not even mine.
Offering.
It's just here is being offering some questions into itself. Take it or leave it, live with it.
If it
Don't,
resonates, because there's different things that resonate for different people,
yeah,
like a Tony Parsons or an Angelo DeLulo or, or the Buddhism, all those stages and everything, they're relevant for some people. And even, I do have some people who want to do a lot of spiritual exercises and stuff, but I'm so not into doing I
no,
didn't do
yeah,
any meditation, you see, so
mm,
it's not something it can reinforce the sense of a me that's not there yet, that's got a lot to do, got to
yeah. That's the same
perfect.
reason I don't do that. But I used to have a problem. I used to think, oh, no one should do that. But now it's just totally,
Because that is this as well, isn't it? That's
we
how
do
life
what we
wants to
do.
journey.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
there's no one who can tell anyone what they should
No,
do or shouldn't do because
there's nobody here anyway.
yeah, and we don't know. We don't
Yeah,
know because enough people have awakened, sitting in Zazen and other people
exactly.
have awakened not doing anything at all. So
And is it not that life wants to experience that? It wants to experience itself through all those ways.
yeah, or even that I don't know, but it's
Yeah,
just
we
what's
don't
happening.
know.
So
It's an offering. I don't know.
yeah.
But it does get lighter, you don't mind. It's just when they come and argue with me
Mm.
that because they want their point of view to be right and they want me to agree to
Yes.
it. So
Yes.
interesting
Yes.
because it's just not what I'm offering. I'm
Mm.
not going to tell you you need to do all of that. I'm not saying you don't do it, but I can't agree with you and tell you to go off and do it. And if that how it's what resonates for you, I think that's really important for people. What
Yeah.
resonates because that's your sort of
Mm.
guidance really, isn't it? What resonates.
I was briefly worried that this book being picked up by, a traditional publisher and then really hopefully reaching many more people than I could with self-published books,
Mm,
that it would lead to some sort of, oh, this is a teaching, this is a fixed version of this, and this is what this person teaches. And
mm.
some of that is happening, but so far I've been managing to undo that,
Dispel
dispel that,
that.
um, because what I do or the meetings and the community stuff that I do
Mm.
is not really seeing no self, the book. It's live inquiry. So it's living group inquiry with whatever comes up.
Yeah, because that's what's live. That's what's
Yeah.
here.
And so there is no teaching and there is no, because the teaching is then, oh, there is a teacher who knows something more than the student who's going to then
No.
transmit that
And
in
that
some
sets
form.
up that's wrong from the get-go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
because everybody is this, and then this is what's arising. Let's look from the fact that everybody is this at what's arising with clarity.
yeah. And then people say, okay, but then teach us inquiry. Like, well, no,
Yeah, but well, they need some sort of, let's see what's going to come. They do need a sort of a mirror to reflect.
Mm,
It's not like come to you for the inquiry. It's more you model the inquiry and
yeah,
then whether they get it or not. So
yes.
you're not teaching it, you're just modeling it. You're going, this is how I did it. This is what worked for me. This is what I've seen to work for others, if it
Yeah, and it's
resonates. Because there's a tricky thing with when the self keeps doing the inquiry or whether the no answer they get is because when because inquiry exposes no self or no thing or that just spaciousness or
mm,
the silence or the something it reveals itself. And is it a matter of then being okay with staying with that that's revealed?
yeah,
And because what happens is they bounce back up to the mind for another question, give authority. So it's allowing that what's exposed. Because sometimes I say, well, the no answer is the answer.
yeah, that's always the answer.
So it's being okay with that because they're expecting something. I want another nugget and something else. Oh, I've got the
Mm.
answer. I've got it now. Off I can go. I've found it.
The answer is the end of the questioner. Um, but that is exactly what is, I like the term modeling, even though the modeling is also just modeling that the inquiry is happening spontaneously everywhere all the time.
Oh
So
yeah, that's a good thing to share. That
mm,
it's a spontaneous. At the beginning, doesn't seem like it's spontaneous, but then
it
you
is, yeah,
notice it's just happening
yeah. And you can't make
because
it happen or stop it from happening. But the inquiry is actually, now that and this, I'm just saying this in the moment, as everything, just realizing it as I'm saying it, that the
yeah, yeah,
inquiry
yeah,
is also always happening. We're just not, we're off believing our thoughts
yeah.
about limitation and separation.
But it's
The
actually being
thoughts.
offered up.
Yeah, because this is living inquiry. Life is living inquiry. It's look,
Yeah,
here is this huge
here's
mystery.
yeah.
Taste it, drink it, swim in it. It is like a living question or mystery or unanswerable inquiry all the time. And we don't value that. We value some kind of cognitive learned conditioned answer
Mm,
to what this is.
yeah, and the living experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's as if it's we're just on a surface level rather than the rich in the depth. So you're not, this whole idea of no self, not idea, but the recognition of no self. It's not then avoiding life, is it? It's not going, oh well, there's nobody here, there's nothing happening. I don't, that's creating another position.
That's the self believing it's no self.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
saying, well, I don't need to do anything then, or everything I do doesn't matter because there's nobody here. It's just creating another point
Yeah.
of view.
And the dead giveaway is the I in that sentence.
Yeah. How much do you
Yeah.
notice how much a depth an eye can have when somebody's speaking?
Yeah.
You notice the quality of an eye, so they can say I and it means nothing,
Yeah.
or and it's like trying to get them to see how much weight's being added to the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I. There's not really an I, and you're like, I think that might be a little bit
Or even
identification with
better,
that.
people who start talking about the no self here. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, wait a minute.
yeah, yeah.
We
As
need to
if it's
back
a
up.
position, as if it's a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that's understandable because the mind just wants to frame everything
Yeah,
as
it's
something.
innocent. It's
Yeah,
just
it
what
is
the mind
innocent, isn't it?
does.
Yeah,
But
but you can.
what I absolutely cannot stand is I
You make me
really
laugh.
hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Is the people supposedly sharing about this, criticizing others
Yeah.
for not seeing it completely yet.
Oh my goodness.
And
Yeah,
this
that's so
gets
cruel.
this creates aggression in me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's passion. You're very
Yeah,
passionate.
it's
It's
passion. Yeah.
passion. Yeah, and it might just come across
But
as
it's for
that
the same
because
reason what you said, that you have compassion for people who want to see this. And then there are these, I don't know, for whatever reason, there are people saying, no, what you've seen is not it. You're just
oh,
deluding yourself. And that may be true from an absolute whatever point, but how is that helpful?
Yeah, no, that's not going to, that's not, that's not sharing. That's just that's another judgment, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have to
It's
go
more
into that,
division, division and judgment and separation. And
but that's what I
so,
value also about these conversations, and so that we're doing this because there's so much of that in people who share about this. Like, yeah, but they're just pretending to know what they're talking about.
mm,
This is not the real non-duality, or all of this nonsense that I feel
yeah,
is so unfortunate for those
who are
stuck or
watching that.
seeking or wanting to find some help.
Yeah.
When there's apparently a whole Facebook group that only exists to criticize Rupert Spira.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I found that somewhere and it was awful. Yeah,
And
it was very
yeah,
toxic. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that type of thing. I don't know how
Well,
I
that's
got to this,
just,
but
well, I think it's just life can experience itself in all these ways. And even if the truth has been seen, it can then rear up that you like we were saying, the conditioning doesn't go away. There's still
no,
a potential for it. So that it's a I've seen it and you haven't position.
yeah,
Yes, you may have seen it, but now if you're creating division, that's now jumping back in a me position that
yeah,
I've got it and you haven't, and you think you've got it, but it's like that's all part of the story.
mm,
You know, it's all how life can experience itself, but it's within the game of division and separation and appearances. And what we're pointing to is that everybody is it, and it's prior to all those concepts and ideas, and it's that turning towards what's already here, what's already the case, and
which is good then to talk about it. From
yes. Oh yeah, let's expose this. Let's get it out.
yeah,
Let's have a look.
yeah,
Let's not just be like, oh, it's all lovely and that's no,
yes,
no, let's shake the thing and have a look at it, definitely. I'm
mm,
all for that, but it's so easy then to dive into it.
yeah. I don't want.
Join the chaos. So
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, let's have a look, but actually then let's have a look. Let's have a
yeah,
look. Let's have a
yeah,
look. Yeah. Yeah. That's be because it is a fluid thing, isn't it? It is just this, just life experiencing itself and diving in and experiencing. So, you can even say from the wider picture, that's okay. What they're doing, the way they're rubbing, the way they're agitating, life is agitating itself, creating another position. It's just another way that we can then, they're modeling, oh, look at that. You could
mm,
get fixed in the idea that I've got it and you haven't. So is it
yeah,
not like you're saying, it's a living inquiry. They're showing us
yes,
that actually, oh, you could fall back asleep to the idea that
mm,
somebody's got it more than somebody else.
mm,
We can just, that's what I was saying earlier. It's so easy to create a little position. And the
yeah,
bit that fell away for me, I was on a call and I said to them, well, what we are is just totally untouched, unaltered by all of the ever changing. And, I needed quite a contrast to see that. I had
mm,
a really big thing happen. And then I was like, okay, so that's happening. I'm not ignoring what's happening, but I'm totally fine.
yeah,
Totally untouched by it. What I am is totally untouched.
yes. I
So,
had that with my second divorce.
oh gosh, yeah.
And when I
So,
compared
so
it to the first, it's yeah, exactly that.
yeah, that So is life is how life's experiencing these agitations in order to know itself, to
Mm,
know that it's totally free.
mm.
So it has that experience of, you know, contrast to know that it's actually, I mean, we're sticking freedom on that label, but that's the human experience to me, recognizing what you are feels like freedom, feels like
Yes,
unaltered, untouched by the ever changing.
and that's a really, really important point, I feel, because how much it feels like freedom depends on how bad the contraction felt.
Because you know the contrast. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's why
yeah,
the experience, which is not an experience, blah, 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 is so different for different people.
yeah,
Because if I'm, incredibly depressed and maybe even suicidal or it's, really, really horrible, and then there's, falling into this,
yeah.
um,
Or the dropping away of that,
or the
because this
dropping away
is
of
already
that.
the case. Yeah, the dropping away of
Yeah,
that, just a different way of pointing.
it is, but it's more correct. So this revealing itself, the contrast is so huge, And then it is spoken about afterwards as
Oh, yes.
fantastic, great,
Yes. It's
bliss,
such a good
the
point.
most beautiful. And then
Yes.
someone else has this really gradual where you someone else has to tell you that something changed because you don't
Yes. They
notice,
haven't even noticed because
which is
it's
how it
just
was for me.
gradually. Oh, is that how yours was? Yeah.
Yeah, it was just over many years, like whole I didn't realize areas of the me, sort of the selfing were
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
become transparent until I was in those types of situations
And it wasn't happening
and it
anymore.
wasn't happening.
Yeah, the pattern wasn't being
Yeah, it
adopted.
wasn't being believed.
Yes, the pattern
Um,
arises, somebody says something, you know how it would have gone, but it's no longer added to.
yeah,
The opposition isn't there anymore. This
exactly.
has softened to then, that's the real, that's how it is, after self-realization. That's, I think we need to talk more about that,
Yeah.
that it just isn't this everybody's wandering around in bliss. And if you're not having that bliss experience, you're not there yet. Because it can be like that. It's just that it's just nothing. I just see it as that weight isn't being added to the human experience anymore.
Mm,
So
mm,
it feels more one of flow and ease because
yeah.
because the positioning and the opposition and the pattern meeting a pattern isn't there anymore. The pattern
Yeah.
arises and the pattern no longer meets the pattern, and so then it dissolves. That
Mm,
relationship thing that you have with somebody is no longer there. So it is a lot more subtle and nuanced and malleable than
mm.
how this just ideal of what awakening is, isn't it?
Yeah, and it can be like that. And how it's going to be for the individual conditioning that dissolves, no one knows. But that's why these those who share this from a very dogmatic or a positional point of view, this is how it works. These are the five stages, and then yeah, that's maybe what happened for you. But there is no way to say
No, because then if you haven't reached that stage, you're not there, and you know everybody's already there.
so. Yeah.
It's just the stage of what's maybe fallen away yet. Yeah. So it's not somebody reaching anywhere. And, that can cause a lot of
Mm,
suffering that I'm
mm,
not there yet. And that self-judgment, the spiritual manager that judges itself, that's getting it wrong. I'm still getting it wrong. There's nobody getting it wrong. So I used to speak on my groups and I would say nobody's getting anything wrong. And because of course it's coming out of my mouth.
yeah.
It just keeps coming out. And they say every week you say nobody. I'm like, I don't know why I say it. It's just coming out. And then
Yeah.
there's the realization, oh my goodness, of course nobody's getting anything wrong. This middleman doesn't
Mm,
exist. The
mm,
one that feels like it's waking up, that's on the path, doesn't exist.
yeah.
There's this belief that there's the separate self, and then there's two positions. There's the liberated me and the separate self me, and you keep wavering between the two, but there's no positions.
Yeah. And all the questions and all the conflict is coming from the position of the separate me.
Yeah, the point of view.
Yeah.
And your inquiry is beautiful because that exposes there is no self with a point
Yeah.
of view.
And I found, I don't know how that is for you. I found I am not, at least at this point in time, there's no ability to speak about very well about what is.
Mm,
I think some people can do that quite beautifully and speak about the mystery. Then sometimes it goes into the
sometimes
devotional.
it can be
Yeah.
a bit too flowery that and this is how for us for me I don't like to make it too mystical, and because I like to
Mm.
bring it down to what's happening today. I talk about a car journey, I just talk about how I'm experiencing it,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
do have
I
the ability to be able to just sort of then dissolve into it and then speak from there. But I'm not defining it. I'm just
mm,
speaking from there. I'm not saying it's this. And it's like it's just the felt sense of it is being shared rather than any strict.
yeah.
It's just an expression of it.
Yeah, that does happen as well. And more, I have the feeling, I mean, this is all just talk, but
Mm,
it seems like that's more and more. But I found that what I'm apparently good at or good
mhm.
at sharing is this always, deconstructing whatever the mind comes up with, whatever thought comes in to take us, supposedly, apparently take us away from this, and then just
Yeah,
bam, bringing it back.
yeah.
And yeah, that's what I seem to do.
It's as if the mind creates a house of cards and you just like, oh, should we
Yeah,
just, if we take this one?
that's it. You know, like there is no mind. There's nothing taking us away from this, and it's just seeing that over
Yes.
and over and over.
Yes. Looking at these appearances and seeing
Yeah.
through them to that they're just appearances, they're just additions to what's already the case. There is nobody trying to get home. There's not even home, but there is just this appearing as something, but never leaving this, never becoming anything.
Mm.
So the trouble is the this direction is a world of becoming. I've
Yeah.
just got to get something because it's looking through this lens. A bit like when you're in the opticians and they drop a lens in for you.
Mm.
It's like
Yeah.
the lens is dropped in of a separate self me that's trying to
Yeah.
find that believes itself to be the separate self me, but what's looking is the infinite.
Yes.
There's only ever the infinite. Lens in or lens out.
Mm. Yeah. And there isn't even a real lens.
No, no, that's just an appearance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, because we can get the thing is the mind fixes everything, doesn't it? So,
Yes.
oh, I've got all these veils to see through. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, veils
Yeah.
were a way that we talk about it. So there are no veils.
No, and it's hopeless. I mean, that is endless until it's not. So,
Yeah.
when that happens and it's no longer thingified,
Yeah,
that's
dignified.
really beautiful. That's wonderful to see, and that's really the reason that I think we
Oh,
do
it's
this.
so nice when you see people sharing. I had somebody
Yeah.
on the call, in our group yesterday, and she suddenly was like, when somebody realizes, so there's nothing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't, it's not like the statement, oh, there's nothing to do. I'm just going to
No,
sit
no,
here on
it's
the
the
couch and do
realization.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's the realization that there's
Yeah.
nothing to do. It's so sweet to see it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. She said, so it's just this. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And it's so easy. And I'm like, yes. And then we spent 5 minutes just laughing our heads off.
Mm.
And I think for
Yeah.
others, even in the group who maybe not seeing that lightness and that joy has some sort of resonance,
Mm. Mm.
that it can be that easy. That it is just this and it isn't apart from you and it's not something you get. It's what's already here, what's already the case.
And it might take a lot of getting to see that.
Apparently, that's what appears. That's,
Yes.
that's the journey, but it's just I think it's so valid to always point to, but of course you're already it. This is how, if that's the deconstruction that needs to be taken place, what's appearing, what's being deconstructed isn't real
Yeah.
anyway.
Mm.
So we don't create something real to deconstruct it. We just say, well, it's being believed, so let's have a look at it. It's not real because you're already there, but let's have a look at what's appearing from clarity, not from the point of view of a me, if we can.
Yeah.
From what if you're already it? What if there's nothing the me needs to do to recognize what you already are? What if it's just what you are recognizing itself?
Mm.
It's delicious.
Yeah. Which reminds me that now more and more that it's not so much let's try to see no self, it's let's assume no self and then try to find evidence for a self. So it's just turning the whole thing on its head.
It is, isn't it? It's the opposite way round, but that is so tricky to
Yeah.
point to the opposite way around. So
Yeah.
that's why I've started to point to it as additions. If this is already the case, and
Yeah.
then a thought, a feeling, an emotion is an addition, then there's a belief added to that thought, then there's a contraction around that thought. So that now creates an experience of a me, but there's no actual me.
Yeah.
So this is just the so I think it's quite good to see how it's constructed, and I'm sure you probably, how is that constructed, and then we're deconstructing it. But all of those this is what I love. All of those movements are appearing within that doesn't move.
Yeah.
What we are doesn't move. And I had that on a car journey because I just drove 4 hours yesterday. Was it the day before? The day
It's
before.
very, very obvious in a car for some
Isn't
reason
it? Yeah.
because life moves through.
Yeah. It's
It's
the
really,
appearances change, but what you
yeah,
are. And I
it's
just
just
had the
fixed.
recognition. Sorry, we're so
Yeah.
excited we're talking over each
It's
other.
the same thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
I had the recognition before I set off. Okay, so there's the mind frames it as I've got to get to there. It
Mm.
was late, I'd worked all day and had 4 hours to drive. And so there's this framing of right, I've got to get to there. But it was like, well, hang on, I'm already here.
Mm.
There's going to be no difference to what I am when I
Yeah.
get there, when this idea of me getting there is going to be the same.
Yes.
Nothing's changing
Yes.
apart from the appearances. So
Yeah.
the car journey was effortless. I did 4 hours. It's totally effortless. There was a traffic jam. There's all these things, but I was still here. I wasn't moving. What I
Yeah.
am is totally unaltered. So
I
then
have
I
the
got home and it
same,
was fine.
exactly the same thing on long hikes or when I'm, when you're really tired and you want to get home and then it's just the realization, oh,
But
but yeah, it's experience moving through being.
yeah,
So the being is already being.
yeah. And the tiredness is what's arising.
Yes.
The emotions are what's arising. We're not ignoring them, but then they don't define us.
Yeah.
I'm not tired. There is tiredness arising.
Yeah.
What we are is totally unaltered by the tiredness. That's where the relief is. That's where
Yeah.
the suffering, we see
But
the
that just
suffering
isn't
as anything.
understandable or isn't obvious until it's obvious. And then it's so
Mm.
obvious.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And maybe that's just the beauty of it, that, like you say, feeling bound and then recognizing that you never were.
Mm.
That's you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know what not feeling bound is if you'd not been bound, not had the experience of being bound. So
Yes.
it's all worth it. You look at it all back and it's all totally worth it, isn't it?
You know, even though it can never be it can't seem to be unseen, the experience of it is can be one of, okay, the contraction comes is there, but then it's seen through again. So that
Yeah.
invitation, is always there.
Yeah, like you say, the living inquiry. It's
Yeah.
offered up and then it's seen through. It's offered up and then it's seen through.
Yeah.
And it seems that it's offered up as less dense. It gets less and less
Yes.
weight, and it's easy. It's more easily seen.
Yeah.
And so and then you're just left with the major patterns that seem to have been reformed over and over again and rebelieved in. Life has experienced it so many times. It's got more weight to it, and so those ones just seem to take longer in the world of time to be seen through. But you still remain exactly the same. It's
Mm.
not that somebody's getting any more awake. It's just literally how life is experiencing itself. I think the what I was going to mention is and that we haven't. I find it. So this is a sort of thing that you could say. I wouldn't say there's resistance to it. I don't know what it is. I think again more passion around what's all this idea of all this fear-induced thing around spirituality, around awakening. This idea that lost in the void, and where they do pictures of, my life fell away, and that's the thumbnail. I'm like, what? Why are people doing that? I think there's so much suffering going on.
Mm.
Why are we
Mm.
adding to the fear? That really it doesn't upset me. I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Could never sell fear to point somebody to freedom. I don't understand. Why do you add fear to the game?
I think I think I can now say exactly the same thing you said when, about the teachers or about the people saying you haven't fully understood it or you're not there yet. It's apparently just the invitation to
Yeah,
clearly see that fear doesn't exist. Um, so maybe it's just, the invitation for us to make that more clear.
yeah,
Um, I
yeah. That we're being shown it to.
Yeah, and it does come up a lot. But again, that's something. The last time we discussed this, I said something like, "I'm afraid of going to the dentist." I really am afraid of going to the dentist. It
Mm,
causes a lot of fear, and then I have a lot of fear, and then I
hmm.
go to the dentist. I mean, it's like you can have fear, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yes.
you
So
just
then
don't
there is.
add weight to the fear, or if weight's added to the fear, weight's added to the fear.
Yeah, so maybe this brings up a huge amount of fear, and for me there was a lot of fear for a very intense for a very short period of time, but hugely intense, and then it was gone.
Okay. But it wasn't your fear, it was fear
It
arising,
was
fear
fear.
that could have identification. This fear, pure fear. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's because I didn't have any. I think that's why I don't promote it. I guess because only talk from direct experience. So I never had, I was always happy to look for no self. I was like,
yeah,
great, let's have a look. Happy. So I guess it doesn't resonate for me. It wasn't
Mm,
my path, so I can't really speak about it. That's why it feels
yeah.
alien to see it,
Yes.
as if what it just doesn't resonate at all. I almost can't comprehend why you would do. And I guess maybe it's just different paths, different.
Mm.
Yeah,
Different
maybe
ways of
that's what
coming
it
to
is.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And maybe that does attract people and help them. But I just don't just I think there's enough fear. But I think that's how the game is perpetuated. The idea of separation is
Yeah.
perpetuated within
Well,
the story.
there's I've learned this also that, some people come through this through compassion and love and wanting to be kind, and that's something I don't resonate with at all.
Mm.
To me, kindness, and compassion, it's just there, or it arises.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
And that was
Yeah.
always super clear to me from the very
Yeah.
beginning. It's not, and those people sort of play acting that, or
Oh,
it,
yeah.
I hated it. It was never for me part of the
You can see
spiritual.
it though, probably, whereas other people wouldn't be able to see that. If you know what genuine compassion is, that it just spontaneously arises and nobody's doing it. You
Yeah.
probably know that very well. And if you see somebody acting it out, it probably doesn't resonate. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, and as a moralistic, or an injunction or whatever, it enforces separation, just as the fear thing
Mm.
enforces separation if it's comes from the wrong place.
Okay, yeah. So if I'm being compassionate, you need my compassion.
Yeah.
I'm being compassionate, yeah. Because I noticed when compassion just spontaneously arose for somebody, and the compassion was there, but I didn't need to do anything.
No.
Compassion, it just arose. They
Yes.
were a hot mess, and I was just watching it all, not distant, not diving into their drama,
Mm.
not just watching it all. And then they said thank you to me, and I'd done absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I think at the very end, I just said, I just honestly feel everything's going to be fine. And they said, oh, thank you so much. I just thought I did nothing.
Mm.
I did, and I know what the older version of Colette would have been. Oh God, oh no, yes, no, I understand. And it would have been a genuine just wanting to help somebody. But I
Mm.
was just watching the whole thing, but not from just from wow. Life was just watching life.
Yeah.
And there was compassion, but not diving into the story, not adding to the story. Just allowing. I think life just allows life to play out.
But
That's
yeah,
really
so
cool.
there are people who for whom that is the entry point into realization, complete, selfless compassion.
Yeah.
Um, and that shows them selflessness or no self.
Mm.
So
Because they're just surrendered to the compassion.
yeah.
Yeah, and even so you can have the devotee path, so
Mm.
we're talking about sages on stages, that can be a path. It's just,
Mm.
it's just surrendering, not to maybe the image or but to just surrender it, life surrendering to itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just recognizing itself in another. I think that's what, I had a thing with Muji where my heart just burst open. And just the very first time I saw him on YouTube, on something, I think somebody shared him on Facebook. I don't think it was even on YouTube. And the kids were little, and they're like in their 20s now. And I was like, oh, what's this? Somebody shared. And I just went boom. I just looked at him and my heart went, pff.
Oh wow.
And then I saw him live and I was like, what is it? What is it with this guy? What is it?
Yeah.
And I looked at him, it's like, there's something there that I want. What is it?
Yeah.
And then and then I realized, he used to give people hugs and I was like, I'm not into a hug, but there's something there. And our eyes met across the room and I was like, that's it. Oh my
Mm.
God. It was like the non-duality, the oneness,
Mm.
we just met. There was no
Mm.
separation. It was just poof. And I
Oh
was
wow.
like, oh. And then the next day I went to see him and I couldn't even see him. There wasn't enough space in the room, so I had to be in another room. And the mom was like, oh, I've got to see him. And then there was like, well, I don't need to see him.
Mm.
There's not really any, there's no need to. It's already here. I could see that there was no need to, that all that need and grasping it was just to be, this was enough. This is already enough just to be here. And then it took me another 20 years to recognize what was seen in that instant.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, you look back and it was all valid. all
Yeah,
totally.
I knew this clearly as a child.
Yeah.
It was absolutely obvious.
Yeah.
And then apparently I became a woman and had all sorts of, and there were all things like partnerships and love and relationships and work and career and being someone, and that
Shoulds and
totally,
shouldn'ts.
yeah.
Got to be a certain way. Yeah, cultural sort of stuff. And
But underneath nothing changed.
no.
And then it's just rediscovering what I knew absolutely with complete certainty as a child.
Yes, that's what it is. If we can point to that, that
Yeah.
it's what you already know yourself to be prior to all of the other stuff
To
that
being
can be
told what
added
you
to
are.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry, just say that bit again.
It's knowing what you are before you're told what you are. Because you're only told that or you read
Before
it
the
somewhere.
idea of what you are, for
Yeah.
any idea, any concept of what you are, what's already here.
But that's because I'm saying that what you're told that you are, because many people believe they do this to themselves and then they feel guilty about that again.
Yeah,
Whereas it's all hearsay. It's all what someone told you.
yeah.
I mean, there are no someone's blah blah, but
But
you know,
yeah, in the dance, in the
yeah,
appearances. So the
it's
recognition,
innocent.
yeah, the recognition for me was soon as I recognized this that I always knew. I said, "Oh, I believe my parents. They called me Collette.
Yeah,
They called
exactly.
this Collette, and I
Yeah,
believed them. I
yeah.
believed the label, and then that label then set up the point of view of me.
Mm,
But but what I am. That's why I was because it's what everybody already is.
yeah,
So, but there's some idea that it's something other than what you already are. Some idea that it's something other than what's already the case. And it's what's already here. It's just what that label, and that's how you deconstruct that label, really, and all the things that come with that label. That's what you're doing away, peeling away this idea that's been applied to what's already the case. Oh, I feel better. You know, when you feel like you just got to the right point and it just like,
yes.
oh, we can stop now. We've
Yeah,
got
we
to
can
the
stop.
end. Brilliant. I'll switch the recording off, but thank you, Kat. I'm sure the people that watch my channel love I love seeing you. We'll chat afterwards, but I'll just switch the recording off.